Hi, it's been a while. My name is Zach, and today I want to talk about The Devil Went Down to Georgia. I don't know, I'm trying something new. I'm not really a music guy, but I thought this was kinda neat. A while back, there was a poem called The Mountain Whippoorwill by Stephen Vincent Benet? Bennett? I don't know. In it, a humble loner participates in a fiddle competition. This isn't an easy competition either. It's full of talented figures, each with some special weight. While there are many contestants, only 3 are specially named. There's Big Tom Sargent, who performs something that beckons, a song that summons people from their homes and draws the animals out of hiding. Little Jimmy Weezer brings a fervor and heat that sets women into a frenzy. Next is a long line of no-names before the particularly talented Old Dan Wheeling performs, and his is a song of multiple parts, and it's one that inspires. Our protagonist of the poem hears it, and the story interrupts Old Dan's performance periodically with intrusions of excitement, of preparation to spread wings. Our hero is excited. Old Dan's song is different from the others because it morphs and grows and changes, but the poem compares him to sublime divinity. He fiddles salvation itself. Following this incredible act, our protagonist delivers a song of the world. He hears the animals, he knows the mountains, and while he doesn't know the morals or the love that these other players play, our hero knows the whippoorwill. When he plays, it's a song of cabbage and stumps, of lazy fathers and of dancing, of flapjacks, of fires, of snakes in grass, of biblical passages and of pea patches, and singing in the mountains and valleys and eagle flight. The poem mentions that the crowd goes crazy, that hells broke loose in Georgia. In response to the applause the protagonist receives. Yet, when our simple hillbilly goes to congratulate Old Dan, thinking he's lost, that's when he discovers that he's won the contest. Another while back, but a time still a bit after that poem, the Charlie Daniels Band realized that they needed a song with more fiddle in it for their upcoming album. And Daniels was inspired by that poem about a duel with the devil. Or, well, probably. He said he thinks it was an inspiration to him. He wasn't sure. And the poem's really only similar to the song by the fact that there's a fiddle competition in both. In the song, we are first introduced to the devil in a bind. In his predicament, he finds a boy playing the fiddle. He makes a gambit and offers the boy a wager: beat him in a fiddle contest to win a golden fiddle, or forfeit his soul in defeat. The boy accepts and then wins. Simple enough. Why am I talking about it? It's pretty neat that the devil is our first perspective, and he's the one disadvantaged. In fact, the devil's the only person who undergoes a journey of any kind in this story. He begins in a bad place, battles a powerful foe, and then loses gracefully and humbly. He learns humility, right? He bows his head when he knows he's been defeated. Does he learn a lesson? Perhaps, we could infer, he learns to be humble. After all, he knew nothing about this stranger, yet gambled against him anyway. But this interpretation, I think, is weakened for 2 reasons. Firstly, this first perspective isn't as a neutral observer, it's the devil. The devil has themes and assumptions about his character. He has pre-existing baggage. The devil is a bad guy. That's just a thing you're expected to know as audience. Like, that's a pretty big part of his character. But maybe the song is trying something clever and subverting your assumption. Okay. Well, the music isn't really congruous with this idea either. The music is excited and upbeat. It's direct and joyful. There isn't any kind of sinister undertone, and there's a total absence of any kind of implication of subterfuge. But hold on, this is the devil, right? This guy's dangerous, he's the ultimate evil. Surely there's something more going on here, right? Perhaps the devil loses this duel earnestly, truly. But perhaps he wins the war anyway. Perhaps the sin of pride that Johnny gains from this golden fiddle is a poisonous seed. Will this fester, bringing Johnny's soul to the devil at the end of his lifetime? Well, that'd make a lot of sense for a competent devil. A dangerous devil. Because it's a common way to write the character of the devil as some kind of perfect evil mastermind. He wouldn't make a true gambit, he'd make like a queen's gambit, if you know anything about chess. That's not a real gambit. They can't actually take that. He would cheat, although you're not cheating in chess when you play the queen's gambit. The devil doesn't deal honestly. He weighs the dice. He'd challenge Johnny to a duel, and the mere acceptance of the stakes would already be the boy's loss. The devil either wins the soul in the duel, or in the long-term corruption of Johnny's humility. This is an argument I've heard a lot, and it's very convincing, I think. But let's not be too hasty. Let's actually talk more specifically about the music, because again, I just don't see the music itself agreeing with this idea of a cunning, long game playing devil. And it's a cool idea, I admit, maybe even a cooler one than what I think the song's actual intent is. Sorry, I know I keep going on tangents, but before I get into it, I also want to clarify something. I don't know, maybe rewatch the video if I'm doing too much. This song, it has a dubious level of difficulty to perform. I've been told competing perspectives on its difficulty. I've been told that it's a fast song that can be pretty difficult if you just want to learn it. But I've also been told from a classically trained performer that, in general, most fiddle songs aren't that crazy to do. And that this song would rank on the low to medium difficulty to perform. I'm told this song is very achievable with a good amount of practice by a violinist with classical training or experienced fiddling. Which is to say, it could still take someone a few years. Now, I'm not a musician, so I can't really weigh in on that. But as I've been told, it's a pretty frantic song, but that it is doable. So there's a temptation here to wonder, okay, if it's hard to play or if it's low to medium difficulty to play, well, it's not the best. So does the devil just, suck? I mean, if he's only an intermediate level player, why is he challenging Johnny? We hear the devil's song, and we don't hear Johnny's directly. And honestly, it's not that hard to play just the devil's part. Which does weirdly imply he kinda sucks, he's intermediate at best, which is comical. It accidentally supports the idea that the devil is playing a deception. However, I think this is just because of the pragmatic reality that this is a real song played by real artists, and not because it's meant to be a genuine reflection. Think of it like Tribute by Tenacious D, where they're not literally portraying the music accurately, they're instead honoring its idea. So again, sorry, because I don't know musical terms, I'm gonna butcher this. So if you're a music major, well, statistically you'd be a teacher then, so you should be excited to educate me. There's very little else you can do with that degree. You'd ought to find some way to use it here. The song has a through line that's like battle music. It's this fast-paced but not quite frantic fiddling in an excited and bright spirit. The band plays with this through line a bit at different points in the song, but when they manipulate it, there's always this goal of emphasizing the duel itself, the conflict. Now, the devil starts the show. Interestingly, a band of demons immediately support their boss. This is cheating, right? It's a duel, not a gang fight. Anyway, the devil's song is pretty straightforward. It sounds like wailing and hellfire, but it sounds deep and dark rather than painful and animated, less screaming and more yelling. It's bass heavy and almost jazzy, like you'd hear at a fiendish nightclub. Then the devil cuts in with this metallic screeching and piercing string. He saws down a scale with rapid fiddling, and it's quickly over. I can almost feel like the demons establish the setting of hell, and the devil takes the role as enforcer, his high-pitched music like a whip he cracks down upon his subjects. But Johnny practically laughs at this. And now, he isn't really insulting or boastful. Instead, he seems like he's confident in a more heartfelt, perhaps loving way. You're pretty good, old son, but let me show you how it's done. It feels delivered with a cheeky grin, not arrogant eyes, at least to me. And what does Johnny play? Well, again, we don't get to hear it. We hear the Devil's song, well, mostly. I think we hear the Devil's song, kind of. I'm sure the implication is that there's more to it. But with Johnny, the song tells us outright what he performs. Johnny plays Fire on the Mountain, which refers to maybe a few things. There's an old school folk tune and children's rhyme, and it's about literally running from a fire in the mountain and coming down the hill towards home. But there's also a Marshall Tucker Band song of that name that's about the disillusionment of settling life in the westward expansion. Desperate settlers seek a dream, and instead they find violence, failed courtships, disease, and not just death, but life after death. Widows weeping over a corpse. It could maybe refer to the Fire on the Mountain album as well by the Daniels Band. Johnny plays Devil in the House of the Rising Sun, which refers obviously to the old school folk song of uncertain origin that dates back to the 16th century. I'm not kidding. If you're like me, you are probably familiar with like the Animals version. But House of the Rising Sun is way older than that. I did not know that. And the Animals had a reinterpretation of it, by the way. That's not how it used to be. Their version is a little different. But the main idea, fundamentally, of House of the Rising Sun, like as a cultural cornerstone, is that New Orleans brings ruin to the lives of a person who visits. Which is pretty accurate, I gotta say. Early versions are about fallen women who turn to prostitution and accidentally conceive. But later versions, like the Animals, they focus more on the men who turn to criminality after losing everything gambling. These ballads call upon God and pity the speakers. Johnny plays chicken in the bread pan picking out dough, and Granny Does Your Dog Bite, No Child No, which refers to the song Ida Red, about a hot chick who turns men's heads. Notably, depending on the version, she causes tension in the men, whether they'd ruin their marriages in pursuit of her. The song is revelrous, occurring in a parlor or other party, and it features the lines about chickens picking at dough and a kid asking if he can pet a dog.
Can I pet that dog?
It establishes a very country, intimate feeling of being in a busy, cramped kitchen in a community that's a bit too personal and maybe a little less sanitary than a city slicker would mind. Do you see now? Johnny sings of fiddle itself, of life itself, of folk life and the fear and the misery, but also of the joy and the wonder of it all. There's no single tone, instead a raw reverence for beauty and expression. Death and destruction of mountain fire, being called away by worried parents, the failure of a dream, of a new life crushed under the burden of overwhelming destitution, mothers who unwillingly bear daughters with the gift of life, yet who know this curses them to the same misery that traps them. The enchantment of a woman who burns you with love and who gives you reason to return to a chaotic place, maybe a place you shouldn't be. Hope, celebration, joy, livestock in your kitchen, picking at your scraps, well, hopefully your scraps, maybe they get a nip of someone's dinner, and of kids getting a little too friendly with a big old dog who should best be left alone. It's messy, it's ugly, it's real, it's honest. Johnny hears the devil's tune of pain and hellfire and replies with an expression of love and life. Each fiddle player is simply performing what they know. The devil loses the duel not because we're told this in the story's text, but because there's no alternative. It's a fiddle duel, and only one of these people even possibly could know the fiddle. Perhaps the devil knows the mechanical performance of the notes, but only Johnny has the soul of music and life in his breast. And from this frame, it seems like the devil isn't actually a challenging foe. You'd at first assume that besting the devil in a duel would be a mighty challenge, but from this understanding, you're kind of forced to wonder, how could any fiddler lose? With this lens, we wonder, how could Johnny even be considered arrogant? After all, the confidence of a fiddle isn't a sin. The confidence facilitates the celebration and the community and the joy. Old Dan Wheeling shook our hero's hand, just as Johnny tells the devil he can come back at any time. The orator is in control. The confidence of his song is a compassion, not a failure. And there's a sequel song, but I really don't like it. I'm not going to talk about it. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing or something. I'll see you later.